Hola, soy Chicharango, suscríbete, aguante. Hola, soy Chicharango, suscríbete, aguante en fútbol.
And as the computer screen flies through the mist of the internet, we start another show. It's LAFC 360. I'm Vince Rosa. With me, Connor Kalopsis and Max Bretos. We end one season to begin another, the most important part of the season, I believe, for all LAFC fans, as we've won our second supporter shield, but now we want the cup. So we're here for you guys to talk about what happened against Nashville and to look forward to the playoffs. Before we get started, I want to remind everyone in the chat, make sure that you hit the like button. Make sure you've already subscribed if you have not, and get busy in that chat. Type to your little heart's content. We're here for you. Like Vic Garcia, F. Carson. Sure. I mean, I feel like that should be like hashtag Scars Up for Good. We should donate some money to some kind of good cause here in Los Angeles. So I'm with you, Vic. Max Bretos, Connor Kalopsis, how are you guys?
I'm doing great to be with you guys. Because, Sunday was pretty emotionally draining, and, we'll get into it a little bit later, but it's good to be around good people. So just wanted to say that. And it's always good to see your two beautiful faces.
Wow. Max, magnanimous as always. He must be in a good mood. Plus, he's all kitted out. Very LAFC today. I love it, man.
I got this from Jordan Harvey and LAFC. So it's got two things.
Hey.
It's got Bretos 18, which is the year I joined the club.
18 was the number I wore in high school for high school soccer. Does it mean anything to? Yeah, does it mean anything to this conversation? No. Connor Kalopsis, how are you?
Isn't that what they give up to? They give that to third string goalkeepers, I think, number 18 sometimes.
No, 18's backup number 9. 1 + 8.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. I should have known that.
How are you? You're muted. Oh, classic. Oh, Connor. Not again.
Again? Whoa. Whoa.
Wow.
Whoa.
Good thing. Hey, good
Great
thing we have 11
posters in the
days
back
off.
there, Connor.
Good thing we have 11 days off.
Good thing that there's only 15 people watching right now. What's up, guys? I'm back. Vince is back. Max is back. I was really happy to be back at the bank. It was a nice day, a nice Sunday. No real pressure. It was just a fun watch, even though we lost. But very, very good mood today.
No real pressure is right, and maybe that's why you were muted. You just don't feel like there's a lot of pressure on this show, and I think Max and I are now gonna have to put that pressure back on you because we need you at the top of your game. Okay, guys, if you're new to this show, basically we have 3 questions that we start with every show, and that's not gonna change even though we're now going into the playoffs. So it's what happened, what did we learn, and where do we go from here? And I have the honors of what happened in the game against Nashville, and I'd like to go in chronological order. Let's see. We all showed up for a great celebration. It was a beautiful day. All of you guys were looking your best and were very lovely out there at Christmas Tree Lane. Then there was kickoff. Then about 9 minutes in, Ted Uncle forgot what dog so is. A little bit later, about 25 minutes later, Carlos Vela walked off the field with a little bit of tightness, worrying a lot of people. But Christian Teo got a little bit more time than he probably would have. Then Chicho decided he was going to do his best Joseph Martinez impersonation on the day that Joseph Martinez might have played his last game for Atlanta United. However, Joseph normally scores those. He missed a penalty. Then Teal Bunbury got loose on a corner kick in the second half, and LAFC peppered Willis with as many shots as you could possibly imagine, but did not score, and we lost. But we still got to celebrate because we got to raise a big, fancy, shiny trophy. How did I do? How did I do for what happened, guys?
That's a pretty good recap.
Comprehensive. Yeah, I think so. And the reason why I went kind of fast through that and fun through that was, to Connor's point, no real pressure. Steve said it well after the match. He said this was the first time all season that position in the standings did not matter. Didn't mean that they didn't want to play well, but it did change the complexion of the game a little bit. So that's it. That is what it is. I'm going to pass the baton along to, I believe Connor Kalopsis, or no, Max Bretos is going to take
If
us
he's
to
not muted.
what? No, it's you. It's you. I'm sorry. It's you, Max Bretos.
No,
You are
trying my best.
Yeah, you were going to tell us what we learned, and I think it's only fitting that after your last broadcast, you kind of sum up everything. Your last local broadcast, I should say. I want to make a very fine point on that. Max Bretos' last local broadcast for MLS. What we learned. So, Max, go ahead and take it away.
What we learned is in my final local broadcast, in a very emotional game, there was one goal, and it was scored by Teal Bunbury. I will take that with me to my grave. And
Rough.
I will remember Joe Willis, and I will remember the sound of the Chicho Arango penalty hitting his glove, because it made this sound. It went, and it's just, I still hear it ringing in my head. In a full stadium, I could hear the ball hit his glove clear as day. But that was a remarkable day. Joe Willis and Teal Bunbury, the men of the hour. And I think what we learned is that if you take, first of all, this was a game, a poor game in a spectacular season. So what we learned is we don't look too much into this game, too much in the big picture of how you were successful in lifting the supporter shield. This was a body of work. So when they're lifting the supporter shield, even they lost the game, you try and push that aside and say, okay, this was an incredible season. This was a huge bounce back. You talk about the season a year ago, and I was looking, and I tweeted it earlier this morning that the two LA teams missed the playoffs. None of the Texas teams made it, and then those two Texas teams and the two LA teams are first through fourth in the Western Conference standings. So what we learned also is that this league is lives up to the parity, and maybe that's the problem with promotion relegation is a team like maybe a Galaxy or LAC could get relegated because of the turnover so quickly in this league, or a bad injury scare. But we won't talk about that. I won't get too off the topic. But we did learn that this was a huge accomplishment by a bunch of players that came together, didn't play alongside. We didn't know how it was going to go. We should have to give much more credit to Steve Cherundolo and the coaching staff for bringing all those guys together. And you saw how happy they are. They love each other. They keep their company. This is a very special team. But what we also learned is the playoffs are upon us. And now you've got to put the entire season away and focus on that 90 minutes. And what we learned is you might see a game like that in the playoffs at home. So I think it was a great situation for Steve Cherundolo to really show, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of tape session this week about how you've got to have attention to detail, how you have to finish here, how you have to put these teams away, how you have to be locked in, because a mistake could see the season end like that, could see the season end 2 Thursdays from now. Who knows against two? We'll talk about that later. But what we learned is there's a lot to unpack, and enjoy this moment. But as we spin it towards Connor and where we go from here, that this is something that we take the president and build towards that.
Well, one thing before we do, Max, if you do in fact go on to work for Apple and call games for MLS, will you be changing your name to Mac Bretos, like the Mac computer, or would you be IMAX Bretos? That comes from Craig. Is Mac Bretos defenders have IMAX Bretos? Well, would you be doing that?
I will not change my name unless there's some money in it, and then I am a gun for hire. But I think a lot of people are saying what's going on, and there hasn't really been a decision made. But there's been conversations. I had one. A lot of people have had them with the folks there. They're still ironing out a strategy and a plan, but we're waiting with bated breath because next year is a contract year, and we gotta find out. So. Well, we don't know. It was a very good conversation. I was happy to have it. And I've spoken to a lot of my colleagues in the same situation. And we'll move forward. By the way, Joe Willis, I saw the stat, set a record or tied a record for most saves without conceding a goal in MLS history on Sunday.
Correct.
14 saves.
Correct. Yeah, and it's a great stat because it's most saves without conceding a goal specifically, because Maxime Crepeau has the record for most saves in a game, but he conceded a goal in that game. And it was against San Jose, which Connor, when I told it to him, he goes, how is that possible? And I agree with you, Connor.
How can your team be that bad? to concede that many shots to the Earth.
How many shots was
but
it?
I digress.
Sorry.
He made 15 saves, so he had to.
Oh, okay.
He had given up at least a goal. So I think it was at least 16 shots on target from San Jose, which is just ridiculous. Connor, I want to pick out one thing that Max said and what we learned, and maybe we can go into more detail. Maybe this is part of where we go from here. He said it was a poor game, and I agree with you, Max. You lose the game in the fashion that you lose it, but was it poor all around? Because I thought that they played pretty well. So I don't know.
Poor
if
result,
that's
I
any,
should say. Poor result.
Yeah. But Connor, where do we go from here?
They had 29 shots, so they were really engaged.
Mm-hmm.
That's not how you want to end the season. But Max, you brought up that record, that amount of saves that Joe Willis has. Like, look, that can happen in the playoffs, and I'm not saying you're not going to face good goalkeepers, but like, you gotta at least give LAFC some credit, because it wasn't for a lack of effort, a lack of trying. That game some of those goals could have easily gone in. Chicho could have just taken a confident penalty instead of doing whatever the hell he did. And the outlook of the game would have been completely different. So, unfortunate way to end the season, poor result. But at the end of the day, we did get to lift the supporter shield in front of our endearing fans, which is always something I will cherish in its fullest. But 10 plus or minus days of rest at home in Los Angeles. No need to travel anywhere. That's one thing I'm looking forward to. I think the team will be looking forward to. And part of me, look, a lot of people say that this is the bye week curse, or the supporter shield curse, is this break where you don't have to play round one of playoffs sometimes bites you in the butt, right? But I don't think LAFC hasn't faced this type of break prior in the season. There's been multiple international breaks that this team has been a part of throughout the season, and I don't think this timeline is any different. And if a team is going to persevere within that timeline, I think it's going to be LAFC. So 10 plus or minus days of break. Looking forward to the winner of either Nashville or the Carson Galaxy, which will be fun. And look, as you were saying, Max, Steve is going to be going back in nitpicking, detail-oriented notes. Players are going to have to really fine-tune, especially their finishing. If we're going into the playoffs, we cannot have a game like we did at the end of the season, where we have 30-plus shots and do not put one in the back of the net. That being said, I think the players in the squad that Steve Cherundolo, John Thorrington, and the rest of the technical staff have put together knows that this is crunch time, right? They know this is playoffs. There's 3 games to MLS Cup. If there's any team that I think knows the task at hand, Carlos Vela said it in his press conference. We don't want to just win Supporter Shield this year. We know how it feels to come up short in MLS Cup. So as much as I like to think they're going to go in training and start talking about the details on what they need to do better in the playoffs, I think everybody knows and is already up for the task. It's just a matter of time now.
Yeah, I mean, a couple little things. Yeah, I was going to say one thing that I wanted to just point out before you go, Max, is remember everyone was worried about chemistry? Well, I don't worry about that at all when you have a team that racks up over 4 expected goals. Like, yes, this can happen. Unfortunately, it's a low-scoring sport. So, unfortunately, this is football. Like, everybody that just watched that game, if you're wondering what to take away from that game, it's like, this is football at the highest levels. It can be insane and maddening the way it goes. And when it gets into one-off games, it's even crazier because it's such a low sample size. So take that for what you will. But I will say this. That idea that this team doesn't have chemistry, right out the window for me, because their ability to break down a very resolute Nashville team, but just not find the finish. And one more thing I'd like to add: Joe Willis, very good. Didn't think our shooting was particularly good. A lot. He made maybe 1 or 2 great saves, but I think a lot was played right to him. And if there was something on the line, I'd like to think LAFC does a little better. And I'll hand it off to you, Max. I think maybe you had part of that as your point as well.
Yes, what you said at the end, I thought, and I was trying to catalog all the Joe Willis saves, and I go, there wasn't any one that you go, oh, well, there's one, I think, where he's like, incredible.
There was one close-up on Chicho in the second half, right? That close-up on Chicho in the second half, that I think Bouanga sends it over, and then he just gets it real quick hand to it.
Right, and then the Bouanga one, where he hit, I mean, Denny's got to lift that thing where he's right through one-on-one with the keeper. Just he hit it right to him. Now, give credit to Joe Willis. He's 6'5" tall, so he can cover between the 2 posts very well, but that is something I think LAFC will want to work on, about when you get those chances. How do you stop and think, where do I put this? How do I give myself a higher percentage of scoring a goal here, because that's part of the game. That's part of the finishing. Guys make a lot of money scoring goals because they know where to put it, so where the goalkeeper can't reach it. I would also add that maybe it's good to get this game out of your way where you see what it looks like, because LAFC is not the team to repeat a similar result. They learn and they get better. We've seen it all season long. So maybe it's good it happened here where you have this learning process in under your belt. And the last thing I wanted to say, because I see people mentioning the non-red card, a little birdie from, I got some inside information.
Oh.
The inside information was the VAR said that Shaq Moore would have been able to make a play on that. That he was told that Shaq Moore would have been able to track him down, which is absolutely outrageous. I don't know if they're thinking, oh yeah, well Shaq Moore has got a 40-yard dash at 4.2. So if it was Rusty Pierce, who's really slow, going way back, Joey Franchino, he would have not been able to catch him. But Shaq Moore can catch him. Get out of here.
Yeah, come on. And Chicho already proved that he could run past Shaq Moore because he did. So
multiple.
What I think happened, Max?
They said Shaq Moore can make a play, which if you look at that video, I don't know how they would have said that.
You know what I think happened? I did a little digging on how red cards at the end of the season and what kind of yellow card accumulation, how that affects the playoffs. Get this. Had Dax McCarty been red carded, he would miss the first playoff game, which in my mind is the incorrect way to do that rule. He should miss the first game of the season. But it gets worse. If you are to get red carded in an MLS playoff game and your team is eliminated, guess what? You sit out the first game of the regular season. Who is making these rules? This is ridiculous. These are two very separate seasons, and the sporting balance is very wrong in that way. And I would like to give Pro the benefit of the doubt, but I'm almost going to guarantee you it played into their mind. Dax McCarty, big-time player in this league, probably winding down his career, one of Nashville's captain. Can we afford to have him sitting out their playoff game? It blows my mind. So,
yeesh. Well, going down a wormhole there.
Yeah. Guys,
but then there's easy consistencies that you can fix, and that's one right there. If this card and you lose goes the next season, it should be the same for if you won. Let's make it easy on yourself.
Go ahead, Connor.
The bigger point at hand here is, look, there was no pressure on our end, and I think we played accordingly. But you're going to have referee decisions like this in the playoffs. You're going to have times when you get a penalty awarded for your team that you just have to bury, right? I like to think that if Bouanga doesn't hit that post and Chicho buries that penalty, we win this game, right? Those are two of the 25-plus situations in which I could say could have gone our way. But look, all in all, these poor refereeing decisions have been a common theme this entire season, and they will be going into playoffs. That's a guarantee. So let's just make sure we capitalize on the chances we do, so we don't get indirectly punished because of bad refereeing.
By the way, I did my year-end voting awards, and you vote for the referee, and there's three candidates. Ismail Fath, who I eventually voted for because there wasn't none of the above, like in Brewster's Millions, available. And it was like I stared at it for like 2 minutes. I go, I just don't know. Armando Villar, I go, how did he get on there? And I'm like, there's some younger referees that I like. There's some younger referees that I think are Rubio Vasquiel. I think forgive me if I get the names down wrong. Remy Touchant.
That's the point. You're not supposed to know their names.
These are young keepers. These are young guys that they talk to people. I go, they're good. But
Remy Touchant sounds like didn't he play for the Montreal Canadiens with Guy Lafleur?
No, it does. I think he's from California actually, but his Remy Touchant.
No chance.
He was in Slapshot. But the ball goes in the goal. Sorry, I'm not making fun of Canadians here, Connor. I like that movie.
Connor doesn't care. Guys, now is the time for fan questions. Bring them in. But before we do, Max makes a good point about things that they can change easily. And I would like producer Chris to throw up the bracket if we can, because we got a question about the Galaxy, who would be possibly our second round opponent, depending on that result. Yeah. They will host Nashville. One thing that Max pointed out, though, is it's like something that's easy to fix in the rules. I would like to point this out. Why is it that we are just going to play the 4 and 5? Because what if RSL beats Austin? Why did they not reseeding, huh? Max, doesn't that seem to be along the lines of something they could just easily change on paper?
Yeah, I didn't like reseeding, just because I think It takes away some of the dramatic effect. Like if I look at the NCAA tournament, if a 12 seed and a 13 seed win, they'll play each other the next round, and they don't get reseeded to play. It's like you kind of go the path that was given to you. So I'm kind of old fashioned in that sense. Although I've seen a lot of tournaments where they've reseeded it and it works. It does.
Right.
It protects the top seeds.
I generally like reseeding because I feel like the top seeds never get actual real benefit. They have the longer layoff. Yes, they get to play at home, but the flip side, and I see exactly why they don't do it and why they won't do it. MLS likes the chaos. They don't actually want the number one seeds to go there. They want 7 upset ones and things like that. So it just seems, to me, it seems a little bit more artificial parity. But I'll throw my hands up and say it doesn't matter. You should win your games in the playoffs.
But I mean, it affects everyone the same way every year. So I don't think there's an unfair advantage for any teams. It's just the way it is. And if you win 3 games, you win MLS Cup. So I don't see a problem, LAFC.
Okay, so let's get right to fan questions. Let's start with Craig's because, like I said, I want to segue to a little bit of Galaxy talk. But is anyone worried about the Galaxy raising their game this weekend? Is it textbook part-time performers that suit playoff format? This is that old debate, Max. We don't really talk about teams this way anymore because there's so many like super teams now, like the Man Cities and Liverpools. But remember, it used to be like, no, that's a cup team. They're really good in the cup. Yeah. They play one-offs, but they're not good in season. Galaxy seemed, I mean, they looked pretty good.
They do. They've won in their last 4 games. So out of a total of 12 points, they've gotten 10. They're scoring goals. I mean, they had a 3-goal victory. They had a 4-goal victory. They are the ultimate team. We all talked about how you finish the season. No one finished the season better than they did, really. So I know what I said a couple years ago. We want the Galaxy in that first round, and it was a great moment, maybe the most famous moment for this club. Then I asked Jordan Harvey in the broadcast this. I go, was there any? People always mention there was like a residue from that game with Seattle that it was hard to get up after that emotionally draining game, and I was like, that's another reason to worry about the Galaxy because they drain you. And I think that's proof of it. He didn't discount it altogether. He said probably no, we could have done it, but he said there was probably something there. So this is a much different LAFC team, but I saw how those first 2 Galaxy games, how intense it was in the Open Cup and the game at Dignity Health Sports Park, that this team was really gripping and wasn't comfortable in the way they played in those 2 games because they knew right away the magnitude of a matchup like that. The problem in this one is LAFC has so much to lose. Galaxy have nothing to lose. They weren't supposed to finish 4th. They were probably not supposed to make the playoffs. They're not going to lose their record, their home record to the Galaxy. That's the one thing that they have, that LAFC hasn't won at their place. The Galaxy has one here. So they have nothing to lose. And that is a little worrisome. And by the way, Craig, I just want to say that was a beautifully phrased pair of questions. That's how you do it.
That's how you do it. Connor, you were shaking your head, though.
Look, but has that not been the narrative since LAFC has joined the league, right? Is that, LAFC are the team to beat and the Galaxy have nothing to lose. That has been the same narrative for the past 5 years, and it really hasn't changed. It swung one time, I think, like last year when LAFC wasn't doing so well, and the Galaxy happened to be above LAFC for, like, the first time ever. But that being said,
but that's when they have something to lose. That's when they have, and if they were playing at home, which we haven't won there, that is something to lose. They do obviously have something to lose. They want to lift the MLS Cup.
Of course they do, but on a grander scale, LAFC has much more to lose, right? That being said, this is a team whom it has experienced this before. We've done it in 2019, and we persevered. I'd like to think that there were so many reasons why that game was more emotional than I think if that matchup were to happen again, it would be the same. That was the first time we beat the Galaxy, period, right? And it happened to be in the first knockout match the 2 teams faced each other. And I just like to think that we have a pathway to MLS Cup at home, and you don't want to shy away from these games. So for all of you guys watching and watching that first round of the playoffs and watching Galaxy Nashville, I'm not going to get into it too much, but I want the Galaxy to win. I want to be the team that knocks them out. And if you guys are scared and don't want to be the team that is the one to knock them out, then come on. It's entertainment value. You want to be the team to knock out your rival in the playoffs. So I will be actually rooting for the Galaxy to make it to the next round and face us at home.
I will say.
By the way, Nashville would have 3. If they win that game, they would have 3 straight games in Los Angeles.
Yeah, I wonder what their travel is going to look like for that. Like if they want to just stick
Lots
around
of partying at the bungalow at the Fairmont. That's where they stay when they play LAFC.
Hey, Fairmont's a nice place to stay, so maybe they would. Maybe they will stay out here.
We were joking with Jordan that we've credited the Fairmont because they have a very good social scene. There's the bungalow and there's young players going down there, and there's a lot to distract you with. That we probably figured that's probably earned LAFC an added 5 points this season at home.
Fair. I will say this: if LAFC does play the Galaxy, it will break the deadlock of teams winning games that actually matter. Because Connor, to your point, LAFC have knocked the Galaxy out of the playoffs. Galaxy knocked us out of the Open Cup this year. So we gotta break that. Connor, another question to you. Daniel says he's growing his playoff mustache. Will you be keeping yours, a la Ryan Hollingshead, through the playoffs?
So for anyone who's concerned on why this is actually on my face, it was a bit. I was going to Portland and I thought I could fit in the Portland hipster scene for a weekend. I've yet to shave it. Is that a thing? Should I keep it for the playoffs?
Yeah, it's actually filled out nicely. You look like a young Bill Fidrich.
You and Daniel, we got to get a picture of you and Daniel together there on the 20th, wearing your playoff mustaches, and then if LAFC lose, you promptly have to shave them on the show.
I know.
Actually, can we get a split screen of Gordon Lightfoot when he was younger, fellow Canadian? We get a split screen when he has a mustache. I think we might have a match right there.
People are saying keep the stash.
Chad, keep it for the playoffs. And if we do get knocked
Connor,
out,
a lot of people are agreeing.
New tattoo.
Smalls Kenobi.
Who's commenting as 110 football in the chat? Who's commenting as 110 football in the chat saying I should get a tattoo for every win? Guys, what are we doing? What are we doing?
I've actually always seemed to believe that the 110 football YouTube channel is sentient, and it's not actually anybody physically. It's just the 110 YouTube channel, and it's just in there commenting. There was another question in here. Let me see. Bide your guys' time while I'm trying to.
I'll just read some comments. People are agreeing with you here, Connor. I said Smalls Kenobi, who I think is pretty new to our chat. So welcome, Smalls. In caps, I want to knock out Carson, and then Gomez Jr. You scared? Go to church.
People are asking about the final because USC has a game possibly the same day. There's no chance it would be if LAFC is in the final. There's no chance it would be anywhere than Banc California Stadium. Like that's the whole point of the Supporter Shield. Trust me, they'll find a way to figure that out.
Hi, Soccer USA. It was great meeting you. Thanks for stopping by. Can you you guys in the chat who come to LAFC games? Soccer USA came by, stopped by. We had a nice conversation. It was good to see you. But anyone else who comes to the games, if you're in the chat, come say hi. We can have you on the post game too. Who knows? Yes,
we do put people on the post games. Here was the question, and I don't want to get too much into like analysis, but since we did play Nashville just this last game, and there's possibility of playing them again, what's your guys' thoughts on the starting lineup? Would you change? Would you? I tend to see. I'm of this kind of modern soccer coach where it's like your plan A is your plan A, and you always like just want to do plan A better than their plan A, and so I don't really change my line. It's like when people tell me that teams have figured out LAFC, and I agree. Because they play one way of football, but it's good luck stopping it. It's not so much like there's so much tape on teams at this point, and I think Steve alluded to it in his post game. It's like if he's like, I don't think anyone's changing their identity or their philosophy within a week's time, and nor should you. So I am always just go in the same way that Connor is like, let's take on the Galaxy. I just go strength on strength. Pick your best lineup. Don't worry about what the other team's going to do. Your plan A should be better than their plan A. I don't know how you Max and Connor feel about it.
I agree.
You agree? Okay, then we'll just move on. How about from Soccer USA? I'll move us on. How about from Soccer USA? You can take this, Max. Soccer USA, who just got shout out. Thoughts on Teo and his role in the playoffs since he did play around 55 minutes. Most he's played, I think, all season for LAFC. What do you guys think?
I thought he combined nicely. He knew where to be. He had that one really good chance. It was save Joe Willis, something that I said a little bit too much. And I was. You got to still think that he having not logged a lot of minutes and getting into the groove of things. I would have liked to have seen him and successfully take on a few more defenders. But I guess you can't just ramp it all up into this game. But I was satisfied with what he was able to do.
although it was unfortunate Vela had to come out so early, Teo getting more minutes than probably expected originally, I think is a blessing in disguise going into the playoffs. So,
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's a savvy move by Steve Cherundolo. You get Carlos Vela. There's no reason to push him
don't
out
risk
here
it.
too much. He gets just under a half, and then you get Christian Teo immersed into the game, and he was involved with a lot of those really attractive passing sequences.
Yeah,
But
Teo
as
just
Vince
seems.
was,
Go ahead.
go ahead. Oh,
I was
oh,
gonna say
geez.
Teo's like style of play. It just seems natural for LAC, kind of in the way that Bouanga does. I don't think you even really have to show much video and say this is what we like to do. It's like you get on the ball, you try to drive it forward. If you have lanes to pass through balls to your outside back or to feed Chicho, do it. If not, take it yourself. And I think that's like you said, Connor. It's a nice to see him get some extra time because I think if you would have only seen 15 minutes of it, you would have said, just the game got a little stretched.
hmm Well, I think as you were alluding to, we have a very strong starting 11 that has been at least a little bit consistent in this tail end of the season.
Mhm.
And then you have those assets off the bench. People are mentioning Bale. People are mentioning Teo. These are guys that look. I can say certainly if not if injuries aren't a problem, will not be starting going into the
Mhm.
postseason. Um, and these are deadly assets coming off the bench. Like the
Mhm.
Bale is as people are saying, oh, maybe Bale shouldn't get playing time in the postseason. No, Bale's a player you want to bring on those last 25 minutes to either put away a game if you're already winning, or bring something out of nothing, right? So
Mhm.
I'm very
Well, there's
confident, more so than I think I even was in 2019 heading into the playoffs.
there's a lot of comments about Bale. I think we should probably address it. And there's obviously something it's not clicking all into place with whatever. I don't know. And not really privy to that information, but there's something that's, where he's not getting those regular minutes. And I think, yes, someone said, don't bail on Bale, thickety wickets. Classic play on words. There's an if he's ready to go and available, he loves it. You can see he's happy here. There was that
Mhm.
moment at the stadium where they had him and team security Paul, and he had the Will Ferrell shirt on. He's grinning like a school kid. He loves it.
Mhm.
But there's just something that hasn't clicked, and it's not to say it won't. If he's ready to go in the playoffs, you get him in there. I know someone said he would take the penalty. By the way, that's something that we missed with Carlos Vela coming out early. He probably takes that penalty.
Right.
But it's Chicho usually hits them. He's got a very good penalty record. But Gareth Bale is another weapon. That said, if it doesn't click into place, I think what you have is still better than anyone else in Major League Soccer, especially with Christian Teo and obviously the immersion of Denny Bouanga, who,
Mhm.
again, I repeat, as I said last week, is becoming the most important player for LAFC because what he can do is singular.
Mhm.
But
He opens doors up front.
part of me feels that this 10+ day break to the round 2 of playoffs is a good thing, right? So you have Bale with a week, 2 weeks under his belt to just kind of get back in the swing of things after that international break. So
Well,
I don't really
Right.
see too many
they
negatives coming
responded
out of
well
this
after the
break.
international break. They did
Mhm.
respond well coming back with all their internationals. So I mean, taking time off doesn't really affect this team too badly.
I don't know. It's not binary. I know everyone keeps asking like, is Bale clicking? Like, is he a bust or not? Like, it's one or the other. And Max, you and I have had these conversations. It's like he can't win, right? He's got so many Champions League titles. We've seen him do so many things. It doesn't matter. He scores 3 goals. He should score 4 goals. He scores 4 goals. He should score 5 goals. It's what Connor says. And I don't think, look, especially with 5 substitutions, there's nothing to worry about. And I know fans are worrying if Bale doesn't play. If he's not in uniform, it lends me to believe that they're being precautionary, just like they were taking
That's
Vela
it.
out when he wasn't really
Precautionary is the word.
injured. We did learn that he's been dealing with a bit of a back problem. So I guess the big takeaway from this is that, yeah, if you don't play consistent football for a while and you're a Ferrari that's finely tuned, when you try to ramp it back up, sometimes you break down a couple times. But to Connor's point, with 5 subs and the fact that, like, let's say it's a 1-1 game and you've already brought on Mahali, you've already brought on Teo, you're going for it full out, and you can bring in a Gareth Bale who can
Exactly.
nail a penalty. We know he can nail a penalty. He can hit a free kick. He can do something like he did against Justin Glad and skin him down the touchline and
He
then
can
finish.
hold up the play. He
Or
can
he
play
can
number
hold up
9. He can
play.
play out wide.
Yeah, it's not like we're
And
seeing a
that's an
guy that's throwing
asset.
his toys out of the out of the
No.
playpen or he's getting red cards. He's bought in. So I don't worry quite the same. Do I think that all of us would love to see him killing it to make it even more apparent why there's a bunch of number 11 Bale jerseys out there? Yes. Do I know he'll be back for sure next season? No. But I'm telling you, if I'm a head coach and Gareth Bale is available on my bench with the last 20 minutes of a game or even the last 10 minutes of a game, yeah, I'm putting in Gareth Bale because, his body of work and the things that he can do certain things that no one else can. And think about it. If you're another MLS team, and I don't want to defame Teal Bunbury because he did just score against us, but Teal Bunbury is normally the type of guy that an MLS team is bringing in the final 15 minutes to score a goal. We've got Gareth Bale.
Vince.
It's terrifying.
Exactly, Vince.
It's Gareth Bale, it's Christian Teo, it's Mahala, it's Latif. It's a murderer's row of a bench, and that's going to really scare opponents because they know they'll have a smaller window to take care of the LAFC. Because if you get into the hour mark, they're going to bring in all these guys, and that's not fair. But that's the way it is.
And this is this 90-minute playoff games, right? You can never be certain that you're going to win. You can be the favorite going into it. This is soccer. This is why we love the game. But I don't think I can recall a time in MLS history when you have those weapons off the bench. Any team, as Vince was talking
unprecedented.
about, you usually have a Teal Bunbury to try to come off and score you a winner in the 80th plus minute, right? No, you have Bale, Teo, Mahala plus. That's why I'd say I'm so confident. Again, I can't tell you that we're winning MLS Cup for sure, but I can tell you that we're going to give it everything we got, and we have a very strong chance to do it.
Yeah, look, this is what it comes down to, guys. It's one game. We've already talked about it, the fact it's a low-scoring game just in general, so anything can happen, as we've just seen against Nashville, but I think the front office has done their very best to comb every bit of data they can to fill in this team to help Steve Cherundolo, and they're going to give it their all. They're going to go out there, use all 5 subs if they need to. They'll go all out attack like Steve did against Portland to win that supporter shield, and thank God he did because it was nice to have it wrapped up beforehand, wasn't it? So I'm just going to say I feel pretty good headed into the playoffs, and I want to thank everybody for their questions. Fan questions, always great.
One last thing about someone mentioned about Franco Escobar after the blow to the head. That replay, it's amazing that his leg is not into 3 pieces because he landed on it and CJ Sapong's foot landed inadvertently on his ankle while it was, it looked like it snapped. I see him actually run off the field at one point and go back in the game was remarkable. So I think he took a blow to the head, but I think it's what happened to his leg, which was pretty. I was more
worried about his leg initially. Yeah, when you come down like that, you're worried about the leg initially, and then you see the head, and then you realize head injuries are back in the news, unfortunately, because of the NFL. Yes, the fact that he came back in made me happy, but I'm cautiously optimistic that he's okay. But we knowing Franco, and Max and I have had the chance to just speak with him quickly at training. A lot of times, the guy is like, when he gets on the field, he's killer, man. He's the nicest guy in person, but when he steps between those lines, he wants to go 100% all the time. So again, thank you guys for
before we move on really quick, Vince. One more really quick thing, and I think you'll like it.
We're out of control.
Talking about Chiellini. Soccer USA is talking about Chiellini, and we're talking about assets off the bench. This is an asset on the bench that is very rare in this league. Having a center back of his quality and his experience, every time that he has stepped foot on the field, he's been with us only for a short period of time, but if he's playing the way he is into next season, there's a shout for Defender of the Year, and I truly mean that. The elegance in which he has the ball, not only defensively, but
for next year, you're saying?
I'm just saying, like, in this league, just the way it works and how teams press and how teams counter, usually a center back can have a mistake, and LAFC is prone to that in its 5 years of history. But Chiellini is one guy in the back that not one time have I been at all stressed when he has the ball at his feet, when a ball's coming to him in the air. And that is something that I'm smiling ear to ear about going into the playoffs. He is the quarterback that you want on your team going into the postseason. So,
And I'll add that him and Dennis Bouanga don't care who the Galaxy are. And shouldn't be frightened by them, I don't think at all. So
he's a playmaker as a defender. He was inside the Nashville half most of the second half.
He sent 3 different balls with the outside of his left boot to Cheeky, I think, each time. And every time I just went, oh, you got to be kidding me.
Cheeky was incredible, by the way.
Cheeky was very good, which is another good sign.
Stoppage time.
All right, let's go to stoppage time. Everyone keep asking about playoff tickets. Well, we don't know for sure, but I do know that the way it goes, normally they get offered to season ticket holders first, and then they go on sale to the general public. I think they're probably getting closer to actually when they finalize. We have told you that we're pretty positive it's going to be on Thursday the 20th, but things are still in flux. So I would say keep your
MLS
eye out
Soccer
in the next
has it on the
24 to 48
20th.
hours.
MLS Soccer
Yeah.
website has it on the 20th, 7 o'clock on FS1.
Yeah, I would think
That's gonna be
within the next day or so there will be announcements about playoff tickets. So keep your eyes peeled for that. But let's move on to stoppage time. Stoppage time is our chance for us to rant and rave about anything. And as we do a production meeting beforehand, I actually know what everyone's stoppage time topic is going to be. So I'm going to kind of direct air traffic control this, and I will tap myself to go first not because mine's the best, but because Connor's and Max's I think are the better way to wrap the show. So it'll go Vince, Connor, Max Bretos. I will
Thanks
start
for
off with
explaining the order.
Yeah.
You could have just started. You could have just started with yours.
Just could have
You
started
didn't have to explain it.
And you had to throw in. This could be the best take, but I'm doing it first. But it probably should be going last.
Wow. You guys just
We silenced Vince. That doesn't happen too often.
He knows what he
Thunder's
did.
just stolen. I know what I did. It's been a tough day for all of us. So they can't all be winners. Sometimes they get saved by Joe Willis. Okay, guys, my stoppage time topic is this. We've been talking a lot about playoffs and difference makers in the playoffs. Obviously, Gareth Bale's names came up, Christian Teo, Dennis Mwanga, but I'm going to tell you this. Of those three guys, it will be none of them that will be the most important player for LAFC coming these playoff games. I think the real difference maker, my wild card, Mahala. Mahala is going to be a difference maker. And hot take, fire take. But I feel like a lot of people might be with me on this because Mahala is probably not going to start these games. But, man, he's been so good coming off the bench. Literally, the minute he comes onto the field, he creates an opportunity. Did it in Portland. Probably should have got a penalty for us immediately after stepping on the field. Then he steps on against Nashville, and I looked at people that were sitting next to me. I said, Mahala's going to score here, and immediately creates an opportunity. And I just think that with everything that he's done this season, one of only two players to play in every single game for LAFC, so you can count on him getting into matches. Just the way that he plays and his ability to stretch defenses. If Steve is thinking, hey, Mahala's going to come in at the 60th minute, those fullbacks are going to have their work cut out for them because of the way that Mahala is going to literally immediately get on your back shoulder, get in the blind spot, and just try to run past you every single time. And the midfielders like Ilie, Kellen, even Latif, look up and find Mahala over the top, and he'll make something happen. So I don't know if he'll score, but he's definitely going to get in behind the defense, and either he's going to square a ball for Chicho or Vela to score, or he's going to score himself. Mark it down. Mahala is your wild card for the 2022 MLS Cup Playoffs.
Soccer USA has a good little song for Mahala. You see that? 'Tis the season to be jolly, Mahala la la la.
We need. I'll say this to Soccer USA.
That's really good. I like that.
I would like some more player songs. I missed the Diego Rossi song.
I voted Mahala for Comeback Player of the Year, by the way.
Nobody has Mahala on their ballot for Comeback Player of the Year, and I don't think they realized how bad a meniscus injury is. And they definitely didn't listen to the Max and Vince podcast to realize that Mahala is not just coming back from an injury, but just the whole fact that he came here, then a pandemic happened. He didn't even have a contract, continued to practice with the team, got signed, played for the Lights, tore his meniscus, which is a horrific injury for a player, almost on the scale of an ACL injury, and then comes back and does what he does. By the way, still under 22 years old. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Comeback player. And by the way, the nicest, most smiliest, happiest guy you could ever imagine. So Mahala, Comeback Player of the Year, 2022 wild card. And we need a song about him. More player songs. I just can I put it out there into the universe.
Maybe a little bit too.
That might be a little much, but can I just get more player songs? That's all I'm saying.
Hot take: if Mahala was Argentinian, he would win Young Player of the Year.
Oh,
just saying.
I'm imagining Mahala walking around with an Argentine accent.
Right? That almost should have been your stoppage time topic. That is a hot.
You mentioned Mahala. I'll save it for next week, you guys.
That is a hot take.
End of the season. My stoppage time is everybody is still sleeping on Steve Cherundolo. In this, I'm talking about the Coach of the Year conversation. So, beginning of the year, came in with a losing record with the Las Vegas Lights. Not only LAFC fans and LAFC supporters were clowning him a little bit. The LAFC didn't make the playoffs the year prior, and it was a kind of new waters for LAFC, and no one, even in MLS, projected LAFC to do well. No one did. No one expected LAFC to be the super club it is today. And that's where I get kind of confused on what criteria is for coach of the year. So people are tipping Nancy to be winning coach of the year, Wolf to be coach of the year.
Phil
and
Neville.
It's just
Neville.
Neville, right? So most of the time it's the coach doing the most with the least, and I get that. It's pretty hard to do, but in a league as competitive as it is, you're going to have those coaches year in, year out. Steve Cherundolo didn't have the most, right? He didn't have Bale and Chiellini to start off with. He had a lot of new faces on LAFC coming off of a first year never making playoffs. And he had to, quite frankly, build a strong team from scratch, strong camaraderie between players from scratch. And I just don't think he's getting the credit he deserves, right? Everyone wants to clown on LAFC, and I get it. But if you're going to give anyone credit where credit is due, it is Steve Cherundolo for building this team the way he has. And, I'm not saying he should be winning Coach of the Year, but he should at least be in the top 3 conversation. And I think he's been overlooked every single time because of players like Bale, because of LAFC winning the Supporters Shield. He broke the record for most wins in a first-year head coach in MLS history. That alone should speak for itself. I don't understand.
It would be a calamity if he doesn't win Coach of the Year. And I have a feeling he's not.
He won't.
I think some people are going to be cute with some of their voting. I go, you're insane. You aren't, for everything you just pointed out, for a guy in his first year, set the first year record, held by 2 huge names in American coaching. And in addition to that, immersing player after player after almost to the finish line of the regular season. They're still bringing Christian Teo's still
to the finish line. And these aren't new MLS players. These are Chiellinis and Bales. Yeah. These are world-class players who have won everything you could possibly win. And for a coach of his quality to be able to manage that locker room is unbelievable to begin with.
One of you guys said that. Forgive me if my memory's shot at my age. But one of you said that. Can you imagine how good Steve Cherundolo is that he's in the locker room and saying, Carlos Vela, you're coming out at the 40th minute. You're not starting today, Gareth. Or having those really tough decisions. They're like, okay. Yep. They don't go, excuse me. They could. That's courageous. He deserves credit across the board. He's the coach who win in a landslide. But if you're voting and you're watching this by chance, don't get cute this year. It's not the time to do it. That's the guy who deserved it. He hit every target except for the best season in MLS record, which he was like a couple points, 4 or 5 points away.
Yeah, you can't.
And that's a threshold that you don't have to meet to win Coach of the Year, too, right?
No one
you
ever
don't
gets
need
docked for not setting a new record.
What?
Hey,
I don't.
If you are in fact watching this and you do still have a vote and you're voting for Phil Neville, just listen to this: -9 goal differential. Come on, guys. What are we doing here? You can't have a -9 goal differential for the season and be a coach of the year. You can't.
And to think some of the people voting also were predicting LAFC to not even make the playoffs this year. That's true. Them proving that they weren't believing in LAFC at the beginning of the season. They didn't think LAFC had a strong enough team at the beginning of the season. So if you base your vote on the coach who did the most with the least, and you thought LAFC wasn't going to make the playoffs come the beginning of the season, then you're just hypocritical and you're stupid.
Always a good punctuation there, Connor. A lot of people pointing out Steve Cherundolo might be a good candidate for the U.S. national team. And I think with a lot of the problems that we're seeing, maybe fitting square pegs into round holes, and how Steve has managed the locker room and been malleable in his playing style and malleable in the way he uses players, might be a good shout. But I would love for Steve to stay with the black and gold for a very long time, and then go coach national team down the road. That's for the older guys to do. I feel like your best days are coaching a club team. So stay here for a while, Steve. All right, I'm going to hand it off to the voice of LAFC, Max Bretos. He is going to take us home on stoppage time. Go for it, Max.
Soccer. Kevin Baxter getting in on the comments from Soccer USA. My final thought, and I've been looking at the chat room, and it gets I get very emotional. I think as I get older, I think it's because I drink less. Because I think when you stop drinking, your emotions get really. So I mean, that's a good thing. Maybe you're pushing stuff away. Not that I drank a lot before, but I've tried to take my body's a temple. So let's get back on the rails here. So I get a little emotional when I see this, and a lot of people saying about being the voice, and that was my take. And this was the final broadcast as an LAFC team broadcaster. Things are going to change next year. We'll talk to Apple. Hopefully it works out well. LAFC will remain doing stuff along with 110 Football and other things like our great podcast, which you should check out because we have incredible access. We just interviewed Denny Buwanga, which in years past you would have never been able to do it. So a lot of that will be happening, and I'll continue to find extra work here and there as a go-go dancer and whatever else comes up. So
Part-time model.
Part-time model, yes. Hands, very attractive hands. So this was, first of all, again, we thank Denny Buwanga for scoring that goal last week, which allowed us to keep that as a local broadcast. And I was just counting the minutes, and the game started, and it was just in my head, and I didn't want it to end, and I didn't want it to end that way. I was hoping there'd be a goal or something, and I realized that it doesn't matter. But the end of 5 years of this is the job. I have worked for Fox on the national level. I've worked for ESPN. I hosted SportsCenter there. I'm not going to read out my old resume, but I get it kind of am. I worked at Sky Sports. I worked at WWE. I worked for Combate Global. I worked at UFC. I have worked for local stations. I worked for the Galaxy back in the day. This is the job I've always wanted. This was the job when in like 2015, 16, I would fly out. I would host a show on ESPN. Then I would take a red eye from Bristol, Connecticut, or from Hartford, Connecticut. You'd always have to connect somewhere. And I would show up. I'd tell Tom Penn, president of the time, who I'm indebted to for giving me this job. And I'd say, hey, what are you doing? You want to grab lunch? I wouldn't ask for the job, but I would keep up appearances. But what he didn't know is I just got off a plane. And after that meeting, I would get back on a plane to go back to work. We're talking about 8 hours, 9 hours commuting because of a connection. And it was the first time I said, if you really, really want something, this is what you got to do. And I had a relationship with Tom because he was working for ESPN at the time. So I used it to my ability. And then I met Larry Friedman. I said, I just want to see what you guys are up to. I wasn't asking for the job 3 years before they did it. But it reminded me I wanted it. And then I got it. And I knew I had to seize this. And I had to create relationships with the supporters and Bob Bradley and Larry Friedman and everyone involved with the club so that I was part of it. And then they paid it back. So where I have enjoyed this so much more than I ever could have imagined. And being involved with, look, I've been treated very poorly in my employee in many places. I have been, they have kicked me around. They've done things which I've just, wanted to crawl up in a hole and cry to sleep. LAFC have treated me like $1 million, and they treat you like family, and they look out for you. So I'm just so happy for that. It's very difficult because you don't want that to end. I wanted to be the voice forever of this club. That said, being that for 5 years is so special. And if there isn't another voice of LAFC, I can say that I was that. That is such an honor. And I will cherish it, and I'll remember these years. And I hope to be around with the club, and maybe things work around where maybe some common sense prevails, and they'll say, hey, why don't we use the LA-based announcers in the LA clubs? I wouldn't be able to do the homer calls, so to speak. I would have to scream from the top of my lungs if Teal Bunbury scored like we worked for Nashville too. So, but that was, it's just been a remarkable stretch. So thank you for all you guys, because you make it possible and to have that connection with supporters. When I go to the Banc of California Stadium, I do my walk around and I say hello to everyone, and it's just the best feeling in the world.
Well, I will say, Max, I don't want to drag this on too long on my end.
Drag it on.
When
I don't want it to end.
When you started at LAFC, and when I started as a supporter, I was a 15-year-old boy, and to think just as a supporter and as a young kid, like I looked up to you, Max. Like it was a role, and you being the voice of LAFC, I think means so much to not just me but the chat. And to think that I get to not only share this stage with you, Max, and you, Vince, but to know the everlasting impact you've made on LAFC as the voice. I think I can speak for all of us in the chat. Like we will forever love you, and I'm saying that as a supporter, not just as a person who's been lucky enough to become a companion of yours in the years that I've known you. But we love you, Max.
Oh, Connor, that's very touching. Thank you very much, man. That was unexpected too, and more than I deserve. I appreciate you.
Well, I'm just happy I somehow got thrown in there with you on this stage, as I normally do.
Yep.
I am Max's carry-on baggage.
That's
it
true.
for the show. thank you so much, everyone in the chat, especially for making our guy Max feel really great, because you guys are right. If in fact the local broadcasts are gone forever, then forever will be Max Bretos, the voice of LAFC. So that's a pretty cool thing, and I think Max can always hang his hat on that, and I mean that literally.
Yes.
So, and yes, yeah, one last time if you could for the people in the chat. There you go.
Yeah. There's the one account who hates that call so much, and he always puts the Simpson character, goes yes, and it cracks me up.
You know, next thing you know,
yes, all the time.
Max,
it's selective.
A year goes by, and he's gonna be like, "Damn, I really missed the yes."
Right. And don't forget, Max is a good sport too. He's meaning it when he thinks it's funny. He doesn't mind poking some fun at himself. But he is one of the best in the business, and we do love Max. Guys, don't forget that this show, if you came in late or you just want to listen to it
Connor's
again,
goodbye a little better than Vince's, by the way.
Yeah,
I did one for you. I did one for you on the Max and Vince podcast with Moa Du. Come on.
He was
just remember, guys, if you want to re-listen to Max's kind of tribute to you and thanking you, you can always listen to it as a podcast. So check out these shows as podcasts if you ever missed the live show, or like I said, you just want to listen to it again. And do us a favor, go ahead and subscribe to those podcasts too. I don't think it's a thumbs up or any kind of cool button like that, but just think of me doing this to you as you subscribe for that podcast. So please do that. Thank you, Max Bretos. Thank you, Connor Kalopsis. Thank you, chat. We will be back next Monday for LFC 360 at our normal time, 1 p.m. And then at that point, we will know, in fact, who our second round opponent is. So we will definitely be diving into the minutia and all the details of analyzing that opponent. So come back here Monday. Guys, enjoy the start to the MLS Cup Playoffs. I do think it's one of the most fun times of the year, even when you're not in that first round. Actually, it's kind of better when you're not in that first round, because you can just see all the chaos and then jump right in two-footed, as they say. Thank you guys so much. Again, thank you, Connor. Thank you, Max. Thank you, fans. We'll see you guys next week.